Hey, Kentucky. Now, since we are in Russell Springs for the day, we decided to bring on one of Russell Springs' most famous residents of all time, now living in Los Angeles, Tara Connor. Tara, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, when we drove into Russell Springs, there's a big sign that says Miss USA 2006. I know you are proud to be from Russell Springs. What was it like growing up there?
It was quiet, we had to figure out basically how to go out and have a good time. So I was really active in cheerleading and sports and video games and fishing and jumping off of cliffs into the lake. I mean, I love it. I absolutely love it there.
It is one of the prettiest parts of the state when we travel. I enjoy it. Now, you became Miss USA in 2006, and I remember when that happened, and it had to be a little overwhelming, right? Growing up in Russell Springs, is that a dream of yours, and what's it like to go through?
Listen, I always said when I was a kid, I was like, one of these days, I'm going to win Miss USA, and I'm going to be the first girl from Kentucky to ever win Miss USA. And so, yeah, I guess it was somewhat of a dream, but I knew that I wasn't meant to just stay put, that there was like a bigger purpose for me to go out and explore. And so I went through the competition process, and I'm competing at Miss USA, and I never in a million years dreamt that I would actually win. But it was overwhelming because, I had never really had a Starbucks. Like, I didn't know what a cross street was. And overnight, I'm living in New York City, and I don't even know how to hail a cab. And I was like, so, yes, it was very overwhelming, and it was a bit of a culture shock.
I want to talk to you about that culture shock because I think yours is an interesting story because not only did you win, all of a sudden you become like a national media personality because of what happened afterwards when there were pictures taken. A lot of folks know that story. And what is it like to all of a sudden just find your life in the national media? That's got to be crazy.
I mean, it was pretty intense. Like, I felt like it was a lot when I won Miss USA, but then, 9 months into my reign, I tested positive for cocaine, and my addiction was broadcast all over the world. Being Miss USA, I felt like, how can I be an addict? Like, I'm awesome, but then when you fail a drug test in front of the world and people are calling you names and saying that you're a disgrace, at some point you kind of look at yourself and say, they might have a point. So there was a freedom that came with that because I feel like my entire life I was trying to prove to everyone that I was worthy of being in this world. And, finally all of my skeletons are out of the closet and I didn't have to hide anymore. And so I was really able to just kind of fall into my skin and be exactly who I was.
It's interesting you say that because for some people sort of hitting bottom like that can be a freeing experience that actually helps you in an odd way, and for you to do it on the public stage. Now, you also had now President Trump, you probably didn't think that was going to be the case then, say you could keep the crown if you went to, and you went through, rehab. What was that like, and do you think that was a decision that helped you?
Well, in the beginning, I thought it was just kind of a punishment. Like, okay, well, you can either go to rehab and keep your title, or we can take your title and you don't go to treatment. And so I said, well, I guess I'm up for free therapy. But the truth was that I think that there was something greater working in my life that I don't even think Donald Trump knew was happening. And, I learned about this disease that I suffered from, and that there were so many other people out there just like me, and that people in my treatment facility were business owners and, mothers, grandmothers, lawyers. And I was like, wow, I can't deny that my emotions are identical to theirs. And I have a hard time controlling my emotional nature. And that, yes, I did use and drink to kind of shut down the feelings that I was having. So, like I said, I didn't realize at the time how beneficial that was to my life, but it has given me like a purpose. It has given me a confidence. It has given me a freedom that I've always wanted my entire life. And now I get to give that back and try to make that accessible to all of the people who can't find that freedom or are having trouble getting there.
I just have about a minute left, but I got to ask you, because you know the current president better than I do, what are your thoughts on Trump since you've known him for so long?
you know, what you see is what you get. I mean, he really does like to get out there and try to make things happen. And, you know, recently I was reached out to by the White House to see if I can possibly work with the heroin epidemic and the opioid epidemic. I'm all about results. And as far as I'm concerned, if there's any way that I can help him find success when it comes to addiction and recovery and mental health issues, then I'm all about it. And I say go Trump.
I have to tell you something that's obviously a major issue here in Kentucky, and I commend you on your work. Every time I go to Russell Springs, someone asks me if I know you. They always talk about how much they love you. You can check out Tara's TED Talk, which is very good. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night and day.